The void of space stretches endlessly, blacker than any nightmare you've dared imagine. Stars flicker like dying eyes, and somewhere, far beyond the reach of human comprehension, a whisper crawls across. It promises power, glory, and everything you ever wanted in exchange for something far more precious than gold. Your soul. You hear it, don't you? That faint insidious tug. The voice that murmurs in the back of your mind when you're alone in the dark, wondering if there's more to existence than pain, fear, and the crushing weight of mediocrity. It says, give yourself over. Choose. Step into a world where rules are meaningless and the weak perish. Become eternal. If you dare, for 1 hour, maybe a little more, we are going to step into that darkness. We'll follow the footsteps of those who sold everything, their humanity, their morality, even their sanity, to the chaos gods of Warhammer 40k. Some were hungry for power, others desperate for escape, and some simply curious about the forbidden. But here's the catch. Every choice has consequences. Some are immediate, brutal, and bloody. Others unfold slowly, like a cancer in your soul until you're unrecognizable to the person you once were. And all of them are tied to 4 names whispered in fear and awe across the Imperium: Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh. In this exploration, you won't just learn which chaos god is it best to sell your soul to. You'll experience the horror, the temptation, and the seduction. You'll meet the mortals, the primarchs, the demigods, and the damned who dared to enter the fold. You'll feel their triumphs and their despair. You'll laugh at their audacity, cringe at their fate, and maybe, just maybe, understand the dark allure that pulled them into the warp's endless embrace. So strap in. This is no ordinary tale. This is a descent into madness, ambition, and the ultimate cosmic gamble. By the end, you'll see the galaxy as it truly is. A brutal, beautiful, terrifying playground for gods who do not forgive and never forget. The galaxy of Warhammer 40k is vast, so vast it's almost incomprehensible. Planets number in the billions, each one teeming with life, civilizations, empires, and secrets older than memory. And yet, amid all this grandeur, the Imperium of Man, a sprawling, decaying, bureaucratic monstrosity, struggles to survive. Humanity is trapped in a perpetual war against Xenos, traitors, and the very forces of chaos itself. But chaos is not just a force of nature or cosmic enemy. It is a reflection of desire, of ambition, of every emotion that ever burned in a mortal heart. It is the warp, the immaterial realm of psychic energy, where thoughts, fears, and dreams become reality, and where 4 mighty gods reign supreme. These are not benevolent gods, nor are they capricious by mortal standards. They are embodiments of humanity's darkest urges, amplified to a scale that would terrify even the most courageous soldier. Khorne, the blood god, thrives on violence and rage. Every swing of a blade, every act of bloodshed feeds his endless hunger. If you crave strength, fury, and the clarity that comes from pure, unrelenting combat, Khorne is your master. But his gifts come with no subtlety, no second chances, only the brutal calculus of death. Tzeentch, the changer of ways, is the master of fate, secrets, and sorcery. He manipulates schemes and twists reality to his will. Those who worship him are drawn by knowledge, ambition, and the intoxicating thrill of power. But in the web of Tzeentch, every victory has a hidden cost, and every revelation may be a trap in disguise. Nurgle, the Plague Father, offers a paradoxical embrace of decay and comfort. Where fear and despair rule, he provides relief, not through salvation, but through acceptance. His followers are granted endurance, unnatural longevity, and immunity to the trivialities of pain and death. Yet they are transformed, their bodies grotesque, their lives inseparable from the rot that defines his dominion. Slaanesh, the dark prince of excess, tempts with pleasure, desire, and perfection. Every indulgence, every sensation, every artful excess draws the soul closer to damnation. The rewards are immediate, intoxicating, and devastating. To follow Slaanesh is to surrender completely to temptation, knowing that the ultimate cost is your humanity, your morality, and eventually your identity itself. In this galaxy, mortals are fragile, fleeting, and often desperate. Chaos offers power, freedom, and transformation, but never without a price. The warp mirrors your innermost desires, offering an alluring reflection while hiding the razor-sharp teeth of consequences. And while some ascend, becoming demigods or champions of their chosen god, most are broken, consumed, or twisted beyond recognition. Understanding this world is essential before you even consider which god to approach. Because once you cross the threshold, there is no turning back. Every thought, every ambition, every act of weakness or strength will be scrutinized, tested, and often exploited by a being whose patience spans millennia. In Warhammer 40k, the line between choice and manipulation is razor thin, and the price of a soul is infinite. In a galaxy where survival is a brutal daily struggle, the question of allegiance is more than philosophical, it's existential. Choosing which chaos god to follow isn't a casual consideration. It's a reflection of who you are at your core, the essence of your desires, your fears, and your ambitions. In a universe governed by war, deception, decay, and excess, the right or wrong alignment can determine whether you rise as a champion, crumble as a pawn, or are erased entirely from existence. This isn't just about power, though that is certainly seductive. It's about identity, morality, and the shaping of your destiny. Humanity in Warhammer 40k is trapped in a cosmic vase, every choice fraught with consequence. The Chaos Gods do not offer charity. They offer reflection. They are mirrors held up to the deepest, darkest parts of your soul. Your rage, your cunning, your desperation, your indulgences, they see them all, and they respond in kind. Consider the stakes. A soldier in a hive city, bleeding out from an endless war, might find in Khorne a channel for his anger, a clarity that makes the chaos of combat meaningful. An ambitious scholar might see Sench as a path to unlock knowledge that the Imperium has forbidden, a ladder to power that could reshape entire civilizations. A weary medic crushed under the weight of death and suffering might hear Nurgle's promise of comfort in decay, a cruel salvation from despair, and those who chase pleasure without restraint may find themselves in Slaanesh's arms, dancing on the edge of ecstasy and annihilation. This topic matters because it forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves. What do we truly crave when all external rules are stripped away? Strength, power, knowledge, comfort, or pleasure? The answer reveals not only the god most aligned with your nature, but also the kind of soul you are willing to forge or sacrifice. In exploring this, we don't just examine the chaos gods as abstract forces. We explore the human condition magnified to cosmic extremes. Every follower is a story of ambition, desperation, and transformation. Every choice is a lesson in the seductive allure of power and the harrowing cost of surrender. Understanding which god resonates with you is a journey into the heart of darkness, not just of the universe, but of yourself. Because in the end, the galaxy doesn't care who you are. The chaos gods do, and they reward and punish accordingly. Khorne is fury incarnate. Picture a battlefield drenched in fire and blood, where the screams of the dying echo across endless plains of shattered armor and broken bones. If the universe had a heartbeat, it would be the pounding of Khorne's war drums, a relentless rhythm calling all who burn with rage. He does not care for subtlety, for planning, or for whispered plots. Khorne demands action, immediate and unrestrained. To sell your soul to him is to surrender to violence, to find clarity and purpose in the act of destruction itself. Imagine a warrior whose life has been defined by frustration, betrayal, and pent-up anger. One day he snaps not metaphorically, literally, and everything around him becomes a battlefield. His fists, his blades, even his very presence is an instrument of carnage. That's the essence of Khorne's call. A pure, unthinking, glorious rage. The god does not negotiate. The god does not offer comfort. The god offers a path where anger becomes fuel, and every enemy slain feeds the ever-growing pile of skulls at his throne. Khorne's followers are simple in ambition, but terrifying in execution. Blood, skulls, war, they are obsessed not out of obsession itself, but because these acts are the language in which Khorne speaks, and yet there is a strange form of honor here. Khorne despises deceit and cowardice. There is no greater shame than killing in the shadows, or worse, failing to fight when the fight is called for. Betrayal in Khorne's eyes is not dishonor, it is initiative. Killing your allies, if they were weak, undeserving, or merely slow, it is a statement of purpose, a demonstration of true devotion. Take the tale of a soldier turned cultist wandering the wastes of a shattered world. His comrades fall one by one to alien horrors and traitorous ambitions, but he survives. Not by luck, but because Khorne has marked him. He fights through madness, fury his only companion, until even the warp itself quivers at his presence. His body is a canvas of scars and trophies, his soul a perpetual instrument in Khorne's symphony of slaughter. And when he dies, if death can claim him at all, it is merely a pause before the next fight, because Khorne's domain is eternal war. The benefits of following Khorne are brutal, yet intoxicating. Physical prowess beyond human limits, the fearlessness of the truly relentless, and an unshakable sense of purpose, simple, red, and bloody. Every challenge is met head-on. Hesitation is obliterated. Weapons and armor are stained not just with blood, but with glory. Every victory is undeniable. Every loss is a lesson in ruthlessness. But the costs are staggering. Life is short, often violently ended. Your comrades are not allies. They are competitors, potential trophies, and eventual prey. There is no rest, no subtlety, no clever magic or hidden tech to fall back on. Your world narrows to combat, rage, and survival. Even in death, the reward is not peace, but continuation. Perhaps as a skull in Khorne's throne, perhaps as an eternal warrior in the warp, fighting forever. The irony is exquisite. Freedom through fury, yet trapped in endless battle. Khorne is for those who crave the raw, unfiltered pulse of violence, who find meaning in the swing of a blade and the roar of a slain foe. If that resonates, if you feel the heat of rage burning inside your chest, then Khorne is not just a god, you are already his disciple, waiting only to fully surrender. If Khorne is fire, then Tzeentch is a storm of shifting colors, a psychedelic tornado of infinite possibility and ever-changing fate. Big, you're changing fate. Where Khorne is straightforward, Tzeentch is labyrinthine. He is the ultimate architect of manipulation, the master of schemes, magic, and cosmic secrets. To sell your soul to him is to enter a world where nothing is as it seems and everything is a puzzle to be solved, or a trap to ensnare you. Imagine a scholar, a lowly archivist or clever court advisor, whose life has been defined by quiet frustration. The universe seems unfair, opportunities denied, potential wasted. And then, a whisper, a tantalizing hint of knowledge, a forbidden insight, a vision that promises to rewrite destiny itself. That is Tzeentch's call. Unlike Khorne's blaring drum of war, Tzeentch speaks in subtle threads, twisting your ambitions, promising power through intelligence, cunning, and manipulation. Every choice becomes part of a grand design, though often the design is far more complex than you can understand. The gifts of Tzeentch are intoxicating. Knowledge of forbidden sorcery, the ability to warp reality, glimpse the future, or unravel the schemes of your rivals before they act. This is power beyond imagination. Physical mutation is common, sometimes a beautiful gift, sometimes a grotesque reminder of your god's whim. One day, your mind is sharper than any mortal intellect. The next, a brightly colored tentacle may replace your arm, a constant symbol that changes not just opportunity, but inevitable. Tzeentch's disciples live in intrigue. You do not march onto battlefields. You infiltrate them from the shadows. You manipulate, deceive, and engineer events, often subtly, often brutally, always with the grand pattern in mind. Allies are temporary. Everyone is both tool and threat. Trust is a concept long discarded. Paranoia becomes a skill, and yet each success brings a rush, a whisper from Tzeentch congratulating you, reminding you that you are a player in his eternal game. But with power comes risk. A single mistake could unravel everything, and Tzeentch delights in irony. What feels like triumph today could be the seed of your downfall tomorrow. Mutations may be blessings or curses, schemes may backfire spectacularly, and the line between mastery and victimhood is razor thin. Even the most cunning acolytes are pawns in a pattern so vast, so intricate that their victories may have been preordained all along. The realm of Tzeentch reflects his nature, a shifting crystal labyrinth, impossible architecture, rivers of liquid sorcery, floating islands, and impossible towers. Your senses are assaulted by the vibrant chaos, and the deeper you venture, the more your mind strains to comprehend it. At the center sits Tzeentch himself, an ever-changing mass of eyes, feathers, and tendrils, a cosmic puzzle you can never fully solve. Every audience with him is both exhilarating and terrifying, as you realize that to serve Tzeentch is to surrender not only your soul, but your certainty, your very sense of reality. Case studies of Tzeentch's disciple. To his followers, he is Papa Nurgle, the grandfather who offers the gift of acceptance, resilience, and a strange, perverse joy in the face of inevitable decay. Imagine a hive city worker, feverish, and he is the chaos god of pleasure, obsession, indulgence, and perfection. an intoxicating deity who preys upon the deepest desires of the soul. To sell your soul to Slaanesh is to surrender to temptation, to chase ecstasy, and to risk being consumed by the very craving you sought to satisfy. Picture a rising noble in the Imperium, ambitious and unsatisfied. Every indulgence feels hollow, every victory fleeting. Then comes Slaanesh, whispering in the shadows, presenting a world where sensation is amplified, desire is fulfilled, and every limit is tested. The first taste is intoxicating. Beauty, pain, pleasure, artistry, all heightened to unbearable perfection. To follow Slaanesh is to pursue that pinnacle relentlessly, knowing that once you start, you can never stop. The perks are immediate and potent. Skill, beauty, or artistry beyond mortal capability can be granted. Musicians may play melodies that enslave hearts. Warriors may move with elegance and precision unmatched. Courtesans may inspire obsession with every glance. Even the tiniest indulgence becomes a world of ecstasy. Followers become paragons of perfection, constantly seeking more sensation, more skill, more intensity. Every success feeds the next desire, but as with all chaos, there is a shadow to the gift. Slaanesh's rewards are addictive, and his followers often spiral into obsession. Artists become tyrannized by their own need to create flawless work. Warriors push their bodies beyond endurance, seeking the thrill of combat in ways that destroy their humanity. Pleasure becomes pain, obsession becomes torment. Each gift from Slaanesh is double-edged, a seduction that ensures dependence. The physical and psychological toll is severe. Many devotees undergo mutations, perfected, exaggerated, or grotesque, reflecting their obsession. Eyes may shimmer unnaturally, voices may captivate or hypnotize, bodies may twist into forms of impossible grace. The line between enhancement and deformity blurs, pain and pleasure entwine, ecstasy and horror become indistinguishable. To surrender fully is to risk losing your identity in the pursuit of satisfaction. Slaanesh's realm in the warp is a kaleidoscope of indulgence and excess. Endless halls of mirrors, impossible architecture, vibrant colors, and sounds that intoxicate every sense. Every moment is heightened, every experience amplified. Here there is no rest, no moderation, only the ceaseless pursuit of sensation. Some are drawn to the heights of artistic or martial perfection, others to the abyss of obsession and self-destruction. All are trapped in the prince's embrace. Case studies reveal the seductive and destructive nature of Slaanesh. Take the Emperor's Children Legion. Warriors who, seduced by perfection and aesthetic mastery, fall from loyalty into excess, their drive for supremacy and pleasure and skill consuming them utterly. Mortals, too, fall victim. A musician who plays with hypnotic mastery but becomes a hollow shell, addicted to the audience's adoration. A noble obsessed with beauty, whose every action and thought is dictated by craving. All are enthralled, all are slaves to desire. The ultimate irony of Slaanesh is that in granting ultimate pleasure and skill, he enslaves utterly. Freedom is promised, but obsession chains the mind. Ecstasy can only be pursued through surrender, and the deeper one falls, the more inescapable the grip. Every follower is caught in a loop of desire, ever reaching, never sated, a slave to the pleasure they sought. For those who cannot resist temptation, who crave perfection, thrill, and indulgence beyond mortal experience, Slaanesh offers ecstasy unrivaled. But in the pursuit of ultimate pleasure, the soul is consumed, identity fragmented, and the desire never ends. To follow Slaanesh is to dance on the knife's edge of pleasure and despair, forever chasing what can never be fully grasped. If Slaanesh is the seductive flame of desire, Tizanch is the ceaseless twisting wind of fate. He is the chaos god of change, scheming, magic, and manipulation, a deity of infinite complexity, whose playground is the very fabric of his realm in the warp mirrors his nature. Impossible landscapes, infinite staircases, and crystal towers that rearrange themselves at will. Rivers of shifting magic flow through the ever-changing sky, and beings of unimaginable form, lords of change, patrol the labyrinthine expanse, teaching lessons in cunning and deception. To traverse it is to test one's sanity, as perception and truth constantly shift. A wrong turn could strand a soul for eternity, or worse, leave it reshaped into something unrecognizable. Case studies illuminate the terrifying brilliance of Tizanch's followers. Magnus the Red, Primarch of the Thousand Suns, dared to bend fate with psychic power, only to be ensnared in the web of Tench's design. Mortals who follow Tench, like Callista in her rise through bureaucratic intrigue, are rewarded with influence and magical power. but at the cost of paranoia, obsession, and mutating flesh. Every plot, every manipulation is both a gift and a trap, a step toward power and a descent into dependency. The ironic cruelty of Fozane is that in granting knowledge and control, he ensures dependency. Those who seek to master fate find themselves slaves to it. Every victory is entangled with risk, every secret with danger. Even the most brilliant schemes might serve Tench's ultimate design rather than the mortal's ambition. To play his game is to accept that you may never know whether you are winning. Yet for those who thrive on mental challenge, intrigue, and the thrill of bending reality, Tench offers unparalleled power. Knowledge becomes weapon, magic becomes authority, and perception itself becomes a tool. But in chasing mastery of the impossible, the soul is forever caught in a dance of deception and revelation. Never truly free, never truly safe, but always closer to glimpsing the infinite design of the architect of fate. If Tizinch is the twisting wind of fate, Nurgle is the heavy, inevitable rot that creeps into every corner of existence. The chaos god of disease, decay, despair, and paradoxically, hope and comfort, Nurgle embodies the cyclical nature of life, birth, decay, death, and rebirth. To sell your soul to him is to embrace entropy itself, to find twisted solace in the inevitability of corruption and ruin. Imagine a mortal at the brink of despair, a hive citizen watching loved ones die to plague, a farmer helpless as crops wither under relentless blight, a medic drowning in the screams of soldiers succumbing to infection. In these moments of desperation, Nurgle whispers with a grotesque warmth, "I can relieve your suffering. I can save you from fear. I can make you endure." The first touch of his influence is comforting, almost like the hug of a grandfather who smells of rot and disease but whose presence brings a perverse sense of safety. The perks of Nurgle's favor are both horrifying and liberating. Pain becomes meaningless. Suffering is transformed into a strange form of joy. The afflicted gain resilience, unnatural longevity, and immunity to most forms of death or disease. Followers, especially the Death Guard Traitor Legion, move through battlefields with an implacable, slow certainty, shrugging off wounds that would fell ordinary soldiers. Limbs blown apart can be regrown or reattached, bodies swell with corruption yet function, and the inevitable decay becomes a source of strength rather than weakness. There is also a strange psychological comfort in Nurgle's embrace. Followers often describe an overwhelming sense of acceptance. You are loved exactly as you are. Pus, boils, rot, and all. This creates a twisted, almost familial bond among plague cultists. They form tight-knit communities where grotesque humor, shared filth, and perverse joy transform decay into a form of companionship and belonging. In Nurgle's vision, suffering is not only inevitable, it is shared, communal, and even celebratory. But his gifts are not without cost. The more one embraces Nurgle, the more one becomes a living vessel of disease, spreading corruption wherever they tread. Ordinary life, ambition, and personal advancement dissolve into the slow, sticky embrace of entropy. There is comfort, yes, but also stagnation. Glory, conquest, or subtlety are secondary to survival and the propagation of decay. The physical body is compromised, warped, and grotesque. Mortals who enter his service become walking embodiments of rot, hulking, bloated, infectious, and yet terrifyingly alive. Nurgle's realm mirrors his essence. The Garden of Nurgle, a vast teeming landscape of swamps, fungi, and decomposing life. Rivers of sludge flow beneath skies heavy with spores. Life flourishes in grotesque abundance. Maggots, mold, and toxic flora abound. At the center, Nurgle himself stirs a bubbling cauldron, a jovial giant of rot and sores, laughing as he cultivates his plagues and nurtures his followers. Here, his demons, great unclean ones, plague-bearers, and mischievous Nurglings, roam creating havoc and spreading disease while displaying a disturbingly familial camaraderie. Case studies reveal the paradoxical power of Nurgle's embrace. Mortarion, Primarch of the Death Guard, once proud and disdainful of Psykers, was transformed into a demonic servant of Nurgle after his legion was struck by plague. Once mortal warriors were reborn as plague-ridden juggernauts, unstoppable, horrific, and yet infused with perverse vitality. On a smaller scale, individuals like Sister Daria, a battlefield medic, find themselves gifted with the ability to preserve life in twisted form, their patients surviving disease with grotesque mutations, entering the cycle of plague and joy. And Nurgle's irony is profound. He grants survival, resilience, and a sense of comfort, but at the cost of humanity, beauty, and societal normalcy. His blessings are simultaneously gifts and curses, providing a sanctuary from fear while transforming life into grotesque spectacle. To follow Nurgle is to accept that survival, love, and belonging come wrapped in decay. Yet there pray in this macabre balance. In the end, the choice is stark. Nurgle offers enduring life amid rot, comfort amid despair, and strength amid corruption, but only for those willing to embrace the full, unflinching weight of entropy itself. Followers become living testaments to the inevitability of decay, moving through the galaxy as agents of disease, yet somehow joyful, thriving, and terrifyingly resilient in a universe that fears and rejects. If Nurgle is the slow, inevitable rot, Khorne is the explosive, relentless fury that shatters all in its path. He is the chaos god of war, blood, and unbridled violence. To sell your soul to Khorne is to surrender to rage itself, to become a living instrument of slaughter. A one-man army where hesitation, mercy, and fear no longer exist. Imagine the battlefield through Khorne's eyes. Fire, steel, and screams mingle in a relentless symphony of death. Soldiers fall by the dozen. Cities are reduced to rubble. Every swing of a weapon, every arrow loosed, every spell cast in his name carries the weight of inevitable carnage. Khorne's creed is simple. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. No cunning, no scheme, no hesitation. Just pure, unadulterated violence. Followers of Khorne, from mortal berserkers to demonic juggernauts, are forged in combat. They do not fear death, for in his service, death is merely a stepping stone to greater glory. Each kill, each victorious clash, adds to their power, feeding the great throne of Khorne. Mortal warriors might start as desperate soldiers or thrill-seekers, but under Khorne's influence, they are honed into instruments of rage, their identities consumed by the singular purpose of destruction. The perks of Khorne's favor are immediate and visceral. Devotees gain superhuman strength, speed, and endurance. Fear becomes an alien concept. Pain is irrelevant. Death, if it comes, is merely a prelude to greater battles in the afterlife. Weapons seem to flow naturally into their hands, armor into their stride. For those who live for combat, there is no higher calling than Khorne's path. The battlefield itself becomes their cathedral, the clashing of swords and roar of cannon fire their hymns. Yet Khorne's gifts come with a brutal cost. Life outside combat is meaningless. There is no room for subtlety, intrigue, or reflection. Allies can betray you, civilians become collateral, and even the simplest tasks outside battle are trivial or impossible. Death is frequent and often violent. The weak, the hesitant, and the unskilled do not survive long in his service. Khorne does not forgive, he does not pity. He rewards only the strong, the fearless, and the relentless. Khorne's realm and the warp mirrors his essence. A hellish expanse of fire and blood, mountains of skulls piled impossibly high, rivers of molten gore cutting through desolate plains. Here the atmosphere itself seems alive, urging every warrior to rage, to strike, to kill. Demons of Khorne, bloodletters, bloodthirsters, and mighty juggernauts move with terrifying grace, each a perfect embodiment of carnage and wrath. To gaze upon them is to witness violence made form, a ballet of death that leaves the mind reeling and the soul trembling. Case studies illuminate the horrifying power of Khorne's embrace. A mortal soldier, perhaps a desperate gladiator or disgraced imperial officer, may enter Khorne's service seeking vengeance or purpose. In the crucible of combat, he is reborn. Every strike, every kill feeds the blood god. Every wound endured hardens him further. Perhaps he survives a battle where hundreds fall, his hands soaked in blood, screaming a war cry that shakes the battlefield itself. In the warp, even death is not the end. Those who die in Khorne's service rise again as spirits in his eternal war host, forever fighting, forever feeding the throne of skulls. The tragic irony of Khorne's followers is relentless. In surrendering to rage, they achieve ultimate freedom from fear, weakness, hesitation, but at the cost of every other aspect of existence. Relationships, morality, and personal goals vanish. The universe is distilled into one endless battlefield. Yet for those who love combat, who crave the thrill of the fight, Khorne is the ultimate patron. There is clarity in chaos, purpose in destruction, and ecstasy in the spilling of blood. In the end, Khorne's offer is stark and undeniable. The power to crush, the freedom to rage, the clarity of a singular purpose. The price is absolute. Life consumed by war, death consumed by war, and perhaps even in the afterlife, eternity spent in glorious carnage. For those who find their soul yearning for battle, who long to feel strength unrestrained, Khorne is the perfect master. If Khorne is fire and blood, Tzeentch is smoke and mirrors, a storm of ever-shifting colors, schemes, and possibility. Tzeentch is the chaos god of change, knowledge, manipulation, and sorcery, a master weaver of fate. To sell your soul to him is to surrender to uncertainty, to become a chess piece and a player all at once in a game whose rules change with every heartbeat. Imagine waking in a world where nothing is fixed. Buildings fold into impossible angles. Rivers flow uphill. Shadows whisper secrets. This is Tzeentch's realm in the warp. A kaleidoscope of impossible landscapes, floating crystal fortresses, and shifting skies. Here magic is tangible, a living substance that drips from walls, dances in the air, and reshapes reality itself. Devotees navigate a labyrinth of endless possibilities where every choice can lead to sudden ascension or grotesque downfall. Followers of Tzeentch often begin as scholars, nobles, or ambitious officers, people frustrated by their limits or the unfairness of fate. Perhaps a librarian denied forbidden knowledge, a merchant crushed by political intrigue, or a warlock seeking power beyond mortal comprehension. Alchemy offers them the tools to reshape destiny, spells to warp reality, knowledge to manipulate minds, and cunning to orchestrate events on a galactic scale. Every insight comes with temptation, every advantage with a hidden cost. The perks of Tzeentch's favor are dizzying. Devotees gain sorcerous power that can warp reality, summon demonic entities, foresee glimpses of the future, and transform the physical world. Imagine turning your rivals into mindless puppets, bending space to teleport across battlefields, or casting spells that ripple through reality itself. Tzeentch also gives mutation, sometimes subtle, sometimes extreme, transforming his followers into beings of otherworldly power and grotesque beauty. Wings sprout where none existed, extra eyes glitter like gemstones, and runes crawl across flesh as living scripts of fate. Each mutation is a mark of favor, or a reminder that nothing is stable. Yet Tzeentch's blessings are double-edged. Stability becomes an illusion. Trust is impossible. Allies may betray you at a whim, and even your own body can turn against you under his designs. Every victory might be part of a larger manipulation, every gift a hidden trap. The mental strain of keeping up with plots within plots is immense. Many devotees descend into paranoia, sleepless nights, and madness. Fail to navigate his labyrinth of schemes, and you might find yourself transformed into a chaos spawn, a mindless monstrosity, a pawn discarded in the great game. Tzeentch's realm is a playground for cunning. Lords of Change, gigantic bird-like sorcerers with iridescent wings, command flocks of mutating horrors, impish demons, and ever-shifting minions. Each is a master manipulator, training devotees in the arts of deceit, foresight, and adaptation. Mortals caught in Tzeentch's favor experience a constant push and pull between empowerment and peril, where every spell cast or secret uncovered can elevate them, or obliterate their identity entirely. Case studies illuminate the intoxicating and terrifying nature of his gifts. Take Callista, an adept in a planetary administration. Initially bored and powerless, she discovers forbidden texts, whispers of arcane knowledge, and the tantalizing promise of influence. Tzeentch lures her into a web of conspiracies, mutations, and magical insight. She starts subtly altering events, elevating her status, orchestrating coups, and bending reality to her will. But every triumph is fraught with danger, betrayals, unforeseen consequences, and the constant mental burden of anticipating his manipulations threaten to unravel her sanity. Yet the thrill, the sense of control over destiny, keeps her loyal to the changer of ways. The tragic irony of Tzeentch's followers is profound. The more they seek control and power, the more entangled they become in his plans. Every plot they execute, every victory achieved, might simply serve his design. They may rise to demigod status, gain immense magical abilities, or alter the fate of worlds, but always under his unseen hand. For those who revel in cunning, manipulation, and intellectual mastery, this is exhilarating. For the unprepared, it is a descent into chaos, madness, and grotesque transformation. Ultimately, Tzeentch offers the intoxicating promise of change and the mastery of destiny, but at the cost of certainty, trust, and often one's own identity. He is the god for schemers, thinkers, and visionaries, for those who crave knowledge and power, but are willing to gamble everything for the thrill of the game. In his service, every day is a puzzle, every action a move in a grand cosmic chessboard, and every reward tempered by the knowledge that you are playing a game with a god whose rules are unfathomable. If Teasant is smoke and mirrors, Nurgle is rot and resignation. He is the jovial grandfather of the warp, a bloated pestilent giant who hands out pestilence like candy, yet wraps it in a warm, unsettling embrace. To serve Nurgle is to accept life's decay, to find peace in entropy, and to revel in the perverse joy of survival against insurmountable odds. Imagine standing in a quarantine hive city, walls streaked with grime, streets choked with the coughing and wheezing of the infected. Nurgle appears not as a menace, but as a kindly presence, whispering, "Fear not, child. I will carry you through this rot." He offers his devotees immunity to suffering, not in the way of comfort blankets, but through the uncanny ability to endure the diseases and poisons that would fell any ordinary mortal. Pain dulls, despair becomes strangely bearable, and death is no longer a threat so much as a slow, fascinating process. Followers of Nurgle are rarely motivated by ambition or conquest. They are desperate, hopeless, or crushed by circumstance. The farmer who watches his crops fail, the medic overwhelmed by dying soldiers, the citizen coughing blood in a plague-ravaged hive. They do not seek power, they seek relief, and Nurgle delivers, with gifts that are simultaneously blessings and curses. Limbs might decay yet heal grotesquely. Eyes might cloud with infection yet grant uncanny resilience. Boils and pustules bloom like macabre flowers, but bring immunity to disease. The perks of Nurgle's embrace are as morbid as they are miraculous. Devotees become living fortresses of endurance. Plague Marines, warriors fully devoted to Nurgle, advance through hailstorms of bolter fire and toxins, shrugging off wounds that would shred normal bodies. Even as flesh rots and armor fuses to skin, they fight with an almost gleeful determination, spreading their god's gifts wherever they march. For the truly devout, disease itself becomes a tool, a medium for salvation, or a weapon of grotesque joy. Nurgle's gifts are accompanied by a deep psychological shift. Pain, fear, and grief fade into a grim, perverse contentment. Plague cults, though revolting to outsiders, radiate a sense of community and belonging. Infected individuals share jokes about their afflictions, sing hymns to Nurgle while oozing pus, and tend to fungal gardens sprouting from the corpses of the long dead. The world's horrors are no longer burdens. They are shared experiences, communal bonds formed in the face of decay. Yet Nurgle's blessing is never without consequence. Immortality is grotesque. Disease spreads inescapably. Devotees may become bloated, malformed, and barely recognizable as human. While they endure where others die, their humanity fades, leaving them as instruments of rot, vectors of pestilence, and living testaments to the inevitability of entropy. The ironic twist, in striving to avoid suffering, they surrender the very essence of what it means to live as a normal being. Case studies illuminate this perverse blend of horror and solace. Consider Sister Daria, a field medic in an Imperial Guard regiment. Overwhelmed by the endless deaths from infection, she prays desperately for a solution. Nurgle answers with a bubbling green tonic. Administered, it saves her patients, but transforms them into grotesque boil-covered beings, immune to death yet horrific to behold. Daria's despair turns to a grim sense of relief. Life continues, pain is dulled, and hope survives, albeit twisted. On a grander scale, Mortarion and the Death Guard demonstrate the power and tragedy of Nurgle's gifts. Once a Primarch who despised disease and psychers, Mortarion's fleet was cursed by plague. In desperation, he cried out to the warp, and Nurgle responded. His legion was transformed, armor fused, flesh decayed yet persisted, and they became unstoppable Plague Marines. Mortarion himself ascended to Demon Prince status, forever spreading the diseases he once loathed. Irony drips from every detail. The very thing he feared became his ultimate strength, his pride and his identity. Nurgle's realm, the Garden of Rot, is equally paradoxical. Swamps of sludge, towering fungi sprouting from corpses, rivers thick with microbial life. Yet amidst the stench and decay, life thrives in strange abundance. Great unclean ones, massive jovial demons, act as paternal figures to lesser plague-bearers and mischievous Nurglings, teaching, laughing, and spreading disease as an expression of love. Even Isha, the Eldar goddess of healing, is held captive and experimented upon, not with hatred, but as part of Nurgle's twisted care. The path of Nurgle's devotee is one of surrender, endurance, and grotesque joy. Ambition fades, contentment grows in the most unlikely forms. Life becomes a cycle of decay, rebirth, and shared laughter amid rot. For those seeking to escape fear, pain, and the cruelty of an uncaring galaxy, Nurgle offers a perverse haven. The blessings of disease, the comfort of community, and the slow, eternal embrace of Grandpa Nurgle himself. If Nurgle is the slow, inevitable decay of life, Khorne is the raw, searing fire of living it violently. Imagine a universe where anger is not just an emotion but a currency, where every strike of a blade, every swing of an axe, feeds an eternal hunger. Khorne is fury incarnate, the chaos god who doesn't tolerate hesitation, contemplation, or subtlety. He demands action, blood, and unwavering aggression. To serve Khorne is to embrace the simple, brutal truth. Fight, kill, conquer, and repeat. There is no scheming, no deception, no whispers in the shadows, only the clarity of combat and the exhilaration of battle. A follower of Khorne doesn't strategize around politics or plagues. They live for the moment of impact, the rush of adrenaline as weapon meets flesh. Fear becomes foreign, and weakness is obliterated, leaving nothing but pure, unadulterated strength. The perks of Khorne's embrace are straightforward and intoxicating. You gain near superhuman physical prowess, reflexes honed to the point of perfection, and an innate understanding of combat that borders on preternatural. Weapons feel like extensions of your body, armor molds to your form, and every strike carries the weight of inevitability. In Khorne's eyes, betrayal is not dishonorable. It is initiative. To strike down friend or foe alike if they falter in battle is to honor the god of war. Life under Khorne's banner is intense, visceral, and dangerously fulfilling. Devotees become one-person war machines, carving paths of carnage through entire battlefields. Colleagues, allies, and enemies alike may fall by your hand, sometimes as a test of strength, other times for sheer entertainment. Even the afterlife under Khorne is a battlefield. Skulls pile high on his throne, the screams of the fallen echo eternally, and spirits fight endlessly in the warp, feeding the insatiable blood god. For the truly devoted, death is not an end. It is the opening salvo of the next eternal war. Khorne's realm is a storm of steel, fire, and blood. Picture endless battlefields where rivers of molten iron and crimson flow, side by side, the sky choked with ash and embers. Great demons, bloodthirsty and towering, march alongside their mortal champions, slaughtering all in their path. The air vibrates with the clash of weapons, the roar of rage, and the metallic tang of gore. Every kill, every wound inflicted, every drop of blood spilled feeds the throne of Khorne, adding to the ever-growing heap of skulls that define his dominion. Case studies bring this brutal reality to life. Consider a warrior, Kelgar, whose homeworld was overrun by enemy invaders. Driven by rage and grief, he pledged himself to Khorne. With each battle, his skill sharpened, his fury grew, and his name became synonymous with death. He became a living legend, yet with every triumph, the hunger of Khorne grew insatiable. Eventually, even his allies feared him, for he no longer fought for survival or honor, but purely to sate the endless thirst of the blood god. The psychological transformation under Khorne is profound. Devotees feel clarity through fury. Doubt, hesitation, and fear melt away, replaced by the singular focus of combat. Yet this obsession comes with a cost. Life outside battle diminishes. Relationships, plans, subtlety, and intrigue are meaningless. The universe becomes a series of engagements, each one feeding your power, each one a testament to your devotion. Moral gray areas vanish. All that remains is the crimson path of action. Khorne's ironic twist lies in his simplicity. While other chaos gods ensnare mortals with schemes, mutation, or disease, Khorne offers a brutal, honest path. But in that honesty is tragedy. The warrior may gain unparalleled strength and clarity, yet find no peace outside the battlefield. His soul becomes bound to endless war even after death. There is no rest, no respite, only the eternal echo of battle cries and the ceaseless demand for more blood. Yet for those who crave unrestrained freedom through fury, who see existence as a forge to test one's might, Khorne is perfection. He strips away weakness, fear, and indecision, replacing them with raw power, purpose, and the thrill of combat. Skulls for the Skull Throne becomes not just a chant, but a mantra, a way of life, and a promise of eternal engagement in the cosmic arena. If Khorne is fire, rage, an unstoppable force, Tzeentch wind, smoke, and subtle manipulation. where the blood god shouts and swings. Tizench whispers and bends reality. He is the god of change, of plotting, of secrets that twist like smoke through your fingers. Serving Teach is not about the clarity of action. It's about the complexity of thought, the thrill of seeing plans unfold, and the intoxicating power of knowing more than everyone else. Tizench's allure lies in possibility. A follower begins with curiosity. A hidden library, a forbidden spell, a mysterious artifact. That curiosity grows into ambition, and soon a mortal mind finds itself entangled in the changer's web. The path is never direct. Every advantage comes wrapped in risk. Every revelation carries a hidden cost. Tizench teaches patience and cunning, forcing his followers to play a game where the rules shift with every turn. The gifts of Tizench are vast. His acolytes gain mastery over sorcery, able to manipulate reality in ways ordinary mortals could never comprehend. Fire bursts from fingertips, minds are read and manipulated. Time and space can bend, and fate itself seems to twist in their favor. More mutations may follow, extra limbs, eyes where none should be, or technicolor tentacles, but these are signs of the god's favor, marks of being chosen in his cosmic game. Each change offers a new possibility, each mutation a tool to outmaneuver rivals. Life under Tizench and dice takes mental gain. Followers infiltrate courts, bureaucracies, and institutions, subtly shaping events. Every interaction becomes a puzzle. Allies may betray, enemies may unknowingly serve, and every decision carries echoes far beyond immediate perception. Paranoia becomes second nature. Trust is a currency spent sparingly. Success is intoxicating. A promotion secured, an enemy outwitted, a plot that comes together perfectly. Failure, however, can be as dramatic as the god's favor, revealing cruel lessons in the fragility of mortal understanding. The tragic irony of Tizench as his followers manipulate reality and bend fate. They are themselves pawns in his grand design. No plan, no matter how intricate, escapes his notice. Every coup, every triumph, every twist of fortune serves the changer's ultimate game. You may feel in control, yet the threads of destiny are woven around you, and Tizench watches, always 10 steps ahead. Consider the case of Callista, an adept in a distant administratum. Her curiosity led her to forbidden tomes. Her ambition coaxed her into forming a secret cabal, and her cleverness made her rise through bureaucratic ranks. Each small act, a forged decree, a whispered lie, a minor sabotage, brought her closer to power. But it was Tizench who shaped the outcomes, twisting events to test, reward, and confound. By the end, Callista's influence was vast, yet her autonomy was an illusion. She was a piece in the changer's infinite puzzle. The realm of Tizench reflects his nature, a kaleidoscope of impossible geometry and perpetual change. Crystal labyrinths twist behind every step. Rivers of magical energy reshape anyone who dares wade, and knowledge itself drifts like living light, both illuminating and deceiving. Lords of change, towering, iridescent sorcerer birds, watch, intervene, and manipulate. Every encounter is a lesson, every success a temptation, and every failure a cruel joke played by the architect of fate. Serving Tizench is mentally taxing. Every spell cast, every plan enacted, every ally evaluated for loyalty taxes the mind. Paranoia, sleeplessness, and constant scheming become the rhythm of life. But the rewards are unparalleled. The secrets of the universe, mastery of warp magic, and the power to bend reality to your will. The thrill of the puzzle, the intoxicating taste of knowing and shaping fate, is unlike anything in the physical universe. Yet Tizench's gifts are double-edged. Mutations may render a body grotesque, victories may conceal hidden failures, and knowledge may bring madness. To walk his path is to embrace uncertainty, to savor the thrill of discovery while fearing the invisible snare. The God who offers limitless possibilities is also the one who ensures that every triumph carries a hidden shadow. Ultimately, Tizench is the perfect God for those who crave intellectual mastery, secret power, and the thrill of shaping reality itself. He is the God of infinite potential, but that potential comes with a price. Trust no one completely, expect the unexpected, and accept that you are always a pawn in a game whose rules you may never fully understand. If Khorne is fire and Tizench is smoke, Nurgle is rot. He is the slow, inexorable march of decay, the whisper of inevitability, and yet somehow a grotesque embrace of life itself. Where others see disease, death, and corruption, Nurgle's followers feel a perverse kind of security. Loses meaning, fear evaporates, and existence itself, broken, bloated, and decaying, becomes strangely bearable. Nurgle doesn't seduce with ambition or cunning. He calls to the desperate, the weary, the hopeless. Imagine a hive city suffocating under plague, families racked with fever, and a citizen staring into the face of death. Then comes Nurgle's whisper, "I can ease your suffering. Let me." Those who answer aren't seeking glory or knowledge. They seek relief, a strange solace amid the chaos of mortality. The gifts of Nurgle are simultaneously horrifying and comforting. The body rots yet becomes resilient beyond reason. Disease, instead of being an enemy, becomes a shield. Wounds, no matter how grievous, cease to kill. Nurgle's favored may lose limbs, yet their bodies repair, mutate, or reconstitute. Plague Marines, his chosen warriors, advance through hailstorms of gunfire and blade alike, unharmed by wounds that would end ordinary lives. Death is no longer an endpoint. It's merely a threshold, often postponed indefinitely. And yet, Nurgle's blessings carry their own grotesque poetry. Followers become carriers of his love, spreading plague and decay with gurgling cheer. Villages once vibrant may rot, and entire regiments of soldiers may transform into bloated, pestilent juggernauts, yet all in the name of the Plague Father's merciful embrace. Nurgle's humor is dark, but genuine. The tiny Nurglings that scuttle around his chosen spread chaos like mischievous children, making grotesque games of suffering and contagion. The psychology of Nurgle's appeal is fascinating. Mortals overwhelmed by fear, suffering, and the futility of life find a perverse comfort in surrendering. Nurgle offers not power, not cunning, not ambition, but acceptance. Accept the rot, accept the inevitability of death, and in doing so find a twisted peace. His followers form tight-knit, grotesque communities where suffering is shared, laughter echoes through the decay, and loyalty is forged not by fear, but by shared experience of enduring the impossible. Yet Nurgle's embrace comes with its costs. Ambition stagnates, plans for conquest or personal glory dissolve in the swamps of inevitability. The body transforms grotesquely, and the outsider sees only monstrosity. But within, a follower may feel vitality, resilience, and a deep connection to the cycle of life and death. Pain and decay become instruments of empowerment, and fear itself becomes irrelevant. Nurgle's realm reflects his nature. The Garden of Nurgle, a horrific yet vibrant landscape of sludge, fungi, and bloated life. Flies swarm, rivers of slime flow, and every creature teems with vitality and contagion alike. At its center, Nurgle stirs his cauldron of pestilence, smiling warmly even as he brews the next great plague. The juxtaposition is jarring, death and decay paired with a sense of paternal care, a twisted affection that makes his realm feel both terrifying and oddly alive. Consider Mortarion, Primarch of the Death Guard. He hated sorcery, despised warp corruption, yet in the crucible of plague, he turned to Nurgle. His legion, racked by disease and despair, became vessels of the Plague Father's will. Mortarion himself was elevated to a demon prince, his hatred for the warp ironic given his eternal servitude to a god of corruption. The Death Guard marches through battlefields, now as bloated, pestilent avatars of inevitability, laughing in the face of wounds, fire, and artillery. On a smaller scale, imagine Sister Daria, a field medic in a war-torn regiment, overwhelmed by death and disease. A simple plea for help brings Nurgle's intervention. Her patients survive, transformed and grotesque, yet free from suffering. Her path is forever altered. She becomes part of the Plague Father's sprawling design, spreading decay, yet finding fulfillment in a world made bearable by embracing the inevitable. Nurgle's gifts are paradoxical. Rot becomes resilience, decay becomes life, despair becomes comfort. For those willing to surrender ambition and personal glory, his path offers security in chaos, endurance in suffering, and an unshakable connection to the inevitability of the universe. Death may come, but it loses its sting. Fear may loom, but it is powerless, and the world, though rotten, becomes a stage of shared, grotesque kinship. If Khorne is rage and Tench is cunning, and Nurgle is rot, then Slaanesh is temptation. An irresistible, intoxicating whisper that promises fulfillment beyond mortal imagination. Slaanesh doesn't call to the desperate, the ambitious, or the enraged. Slaanesh calls to the insatiable, the perfection seekers, the artists, the warriors, the musicians, and even the scholars who crave sensation above all else. Pleasure, perfection, and experience are the ultimate currencies here. and Slaanesh collects both with a smile as beautiful as it is deadly. Imagine walking through a gallery of living art, colors that bleed into one another like liquid dreams, sounds that vibrate at frequencies your body was never meant to hear, sensations that make your mind reel with ecstasy or terror. That is Slaanesh's domain. He promises refinement, euphoria, and mastery over senses that mortals barely understand. For those who worship him, life becomes a pursuit of perfection, and the path to it is paved with obsession, indulgence, and the thrill of exceeding limits. Slaanesh's gifts are seductive in the most literal sense. Devotees may gain unmatched grace, strength, or beauty. A warrior may become faster, more precise, more elegant than any normal human. An artist may produce works of such transcendent perfection that they drive onlookers mad with awe. But there is always a price. The pursuit of excess consumes. Devotion to Slaanesh is a spiral. Satisfaction is always fleeting, desire always rekindled, pleasure always deepened. Mortals find themselves chasing a high they can never fully grasp, yet cannot resist. The psychology of Slaanesh is exquisite. Mortals are drawn not by promises of power or knowledge, but by obsession. Once a taste of perfection, of transcendent pleasure or exquisite mastery is granted, the craving for more becomes unbearable. Heroes, artists, lovers, and tyrants alike are ensnared in a cycle where satisfaction is a mirage and indulgence a necessity. Slaanesh offers a taste, but the full banquet is eternal, and the hunger never ends. Followers of Slaanesh embody dualities: ecstasy and agony, beauty and horror, creation and destruction. They are the embodiment of extremes. They pursue perfection in all forms: art, combat, sensation, and cruelty. Yet every step toward mastery brings them closer to losing their humanity. A musician may play a note so pure that listeners weep, convulse, or collapse. A warrior may move with such grace that each strike is poetry, yet leave entire battlefields strewn with bodies. Everything is heightened. Everything is absolute. Slaanesh's realm is as intoxicating as his promises. Imagine landscapes of impossible beauty, where rivers of iridescent liquid reflect skies of swirling color. Creatures of sinuous elegance glide through the air, their forms fluid and mesmerizing. The very air hums with music and sensation, bending the mind and senses of all who enter. To mortals, the realm is simultaneously alluring and maddening, a palace of desires fulfilled and obsessions amplified, where the pursuit of perfection can never cease. Yet there is a tragic irony in Slaanesh's embrace. The closer a follower comes to perfection, the further they are drawn from mortality. Ecstasy is always paired with agony. Beauty hides corruption. Indulgence leads to obsession. Fulfillment breeds madness. Mortals who swear themselves to Slaanesh often find themselves trapped in cycles of desire they can never escape. Their bodies and minds warped into living testaments to the god's obsession with excess. Take, for example, the fabled champion of Slaanesh, a warrior whose skill with a blade is unmatched, whose speed and precision make him near untouchable. With each battle, he seeks perfection. Each parry, each strike, each kill must be more elegant than the last. Over decades, centuries even, his obsession grows. His body changes unnatural and perfect. His mind becomes a labyrinth of desire and compulsion. He wins, he conquers, yet he is never sated. In pursuit of perfection, he becomes both legend and slave, trapped by his own devotion. On a smaller, more personal scale, consider a gifted composer in the Imperium, yearning to create the perfect symphony. A brush with Slaanesh grants a glimpse, a melody so perfect it brings listeners to tears of ecstasy. But the composer is consumed by the need to surpass it, to feel the heights again. Sleep becomes optional. Love, friendship, even survival take a backseat. Obsession becomes total. Pleasure becomes punishment. Mastery becomes a chain. And yet for a moment perfection was real. That fleeting brilliance is the god's gift and curse. Slaanesh thrives on extremes. Beauty becomes horror. Pleasure becomes pain. Indulgence becomes obsession. Mortals who submit are transformed, more capable, more beautiful, more skilled, but also more enslaved to their desires. The allure is irresistible, the consequence is devastating. Satisfaction is never final, and obsession is eternal. In the vast, writhing tapestry of the warp, four patrons dominate the fates of mortals and immortals alike. Each is a force of unimaginable power, each a god whose influence can shape the galaxy, and each offers a path to damnation or ascension. Yet their natures, their methods, and the desires they fulfill are radically different. Understanding them is crucial if you ever contemplate selling your soul, because choosing a chaos god is not just a whim, it is a permanent alignment of your essence with a cosmic force. Khorne, the blood god, embodies rage and martial honor. His call is simple: fight, kill, and spill blood. There is no intrigue, no subtlety, no compromise. Khorne attracts warriors, soldiers, and those who feel power only through combat. His gifts are physical, strength, endurance, and the thrill of domination. His realm is one of eternal war, a crucible where weakness is obliterated and strength is all that matters. Yet for all the glory of battle, Khorne offers nothing in the way of nuance. Life becomes simple, brutal, and unrelentingly violent, and death, if it comes, is merely the start of the next fight. Tenshinch, the changer of ways, is the architect of fate, the master manipulator. Knowledge, sorcery, and cunning are his domain. Plaint draws schemers, strategists, and those who thirst to alter their destiny. Unlike Khorne's direct approach, Tenshinch's gifts are subtle, often double-edged. The adept may gain vast arcane power, glimpses into the future, or the ability to manipulate reality. But each boon comes with a hidden cost. Reality bends, people betray, and plans twist unpredictably. Followers live in constant mental gymnastics, balancing ambition with paranoia, forever entangled in plots they may not fully comprehend. Nurgle, the Plague Father, embodies inevitability, decay, and perverse compassion. His call reaches the desperate, the weary, and those crushed under the weight of suffering. Nurgle offers relief from fear, endurance beyond death, and a grotesque form of immortality. Life becomes both horrific and oddly comforting. Disease no longer incapacitates, decay sustains, and suffering transforms into a strange joy. Followers embrace entropy, and in doing so, they find contentment in stagnation. The price is obvious. They rot, they stink, they lose humanity, but the reward is serenity amid the chaos of existence. Finally, Slaanesh, the Prince of Pleasure, seduces the insatiable, the perfectionists, the hedonists. Slaanesh offers skill, beauty, and ecstasy beyond mortal comprehension, yet these gifts enslave. Followers are consumed by desire, obsession, and the pursuit of unattainable perfection. Pleasure and pain intertwine, and every indulgence only deepens the craving. Slaanesh's realm is one of intoxicating extremes, where senses are heightened and mortality fades. Yet the price of submission is eternal obsession, an inescapable spiral of craving and mastery. Each god appeals to a distinct aspect of the human, or posthuman, psyche. Khorne satisfies rage and action. Tenshinch manipulates intellect and ambition. Nurgle comforts and endures suffering. And Slaanesh ensnares desire and perfection. The decision is not merely about power. It is about what defines you, what consumes you, and what eternal role you are willing to play. The irony of the Chaos God's patronage is that the gifts they offer always reflect the essence of their nature. Khorne's warriors die gloriously. Tenshinch's schemers become pawns in larger designs. Nurgle's devotees rot but endure, and Slaanesh's followers perfect their obsessions while losing themselves. None offers peace. None offers salvation. Only reflection of your deepest inclinations magnified to cosmic extremes. So when weighing which Chaos God to serve, it's not just about desire. It's about compatibility. A warrior drawn to blood and battle will find eternal purpose with Khorne, but Slaanesh's pleasures will seem hollow. A cunning strategist will thrive under Tenshinch's gonna wither under Nurgle's rot. A despairing soul may find comfort with Nurgle but suffocate under Khorne's constant conflict. And the insatiable perfectionist may ascend with Slaanesh but never rest in satisfaction. Ultimately, the choice is a mirror. Whichever god you select, you are selecting the reflection of your soul amplified to eternal, cosmic extremes. And once the pact is made, your essence is no longer your own. It is woven into the fabric of the warp, a servant to a force that understands you perfectly, and in doing so, controls you entirely. You think selling your soul is a one-time transaction, a single desperate act under the glare of fear or ambition. But the truth, whispered by the warp itself, is far more insidious. You don't sell your soul, you lease it, and the rent is collected in ways you will never fully comprehend. When a mortal pledges themselves to a chaos god, it's not merely a spiritual bargain. It's an invisible contract written in the language of the warp, inked in blood, desire, and despair. Each payment, each sacrifice, each corrupted thought, every choice nudged toward ruin or victory, is part of a lease that never expires. The moment of signing, whether literal or metaphorical, is intoxicating. The air seems heavier, charged with power you can feel vibrating through your veins. Khorne's followers feel an immediate surge of physical strength, the desire to act without hesitation, to crush, to dominate, to assert the clarity of rage over the fog of doubt. Tzinch's disciples perceive the threads of fate, a dizzying tapestry of possibility stretching out in every direction, and for a moment, the world feels pliable, responsive, ready to yield to intellect and cunning. Nurgle's children feel warmth where pain should have been, the sweet relief of not fearing death, of knowing decay will not harm their essence. Slaanesh's devotees experience a flood of sensation that is almost unbearable in its intensity, pleasure and pain intertwined, intoxicating, addictive. But these gifts come with an unseen toll. The lease begins immediately. Khorne's clarity of purpose erodes compassion, leaving a single-minded obsession that alienates allies and loved ones. Tzinch's cunning breeds paranoia. Every shadow might hide betrayal, every whispered compliment a plot against you. Nurgle's comfort is a stasis that erodes ambition and initiative, leaving the mind content, but trapped in a living decay. Slaanesh's pleasures are a gilded cage. The more ecstasy, the deeper the dependency, the narrower the margin of sanity. You quickly learn the first lesson of leasing your soul. The Chaos Gods are not benevolent landlords. They do not forgive missteps. They do not wait patiently for understanding. Khorne demands action, and failure is measured in blood and skulls. Ts engineers outcomes so complex you may never recognize your role in them until it's too late. Nurgle teaches that comfort is a trap, that love can be suffocating when it comes with disease and rot. Slaanesh reveals that every indulgence may come at the cost of something you cannot even name until it is gone. Even when you think you are in control, the warp whispers otherwise. Each victory is a test. Each triumph, a nudge toward a future that may horrify you. Each loyal act, a chain tethering your soul to eternal obligations. The lease is perpetual, the rent is infinite. Mortals entering into this pact often forget one critical truth. Their desires, their fears, their weaknesses are what the gods crave most. Khorne feeds on anger, Tzinch on ambition, Nurgle on despair, Slaanesh on lust for sensation. And as they feed, the mortal's personality, morality, and agency warp in subtle, then overt ways. You become less of yourself and more of the gods' reflection in the material plane, a living monument to their influence. And yet for many, the lure is irresistible. Who could resist power when life is a constant grind of fear, failure, and futility? Who could resist the promise of clarity, knowledge, comfort, or unending sensation? Mortals convince themselves that they are choosing, that they are bargaining, that they retain some measure of control. But the lease begins with the illusion of freedom. Every decision, every small compromise, every whispered temptation is a line item in the rent ledger of your soul. To follow a chaos god is to accept that your life is no longer fully your own. You exist in a perpetual exchange, a dance of give and take where the balance is never in your favor. You may gain strength, wisdom, or pleasure, but the cost is subtle, psychological, and cumulative. With every act of devotion, every indulgence in power, every unthinking step forward, the lease tightens. The gods are patient. They do not rush, but they do not forget. Your soul is never released, only held, and the bill never stops coming. The gods do not offer a neutral path. Khorne's altar burns with the fury of 1,000 battlefields. Each skull piled before you seems to groan with the echoes of lives taken and lives yet to be claimed. The scent of blood is intoxicating, primal, commanding. Step closer and you feel your own anger flare, the raw, violent instinct to strike, to dominate, to become a weapon of unstoppable carnage. To serve Khorne is to embrace the apex of physical fury. Your life becomes a symphony of destruction, your afterlife a battlefield where no quarter is ever given. But the cost is total. Compassion, patience, subtlety, they vanish, leaving a singular purpose, blood for the blood god. Step toward Tzinch and the world twists in on itself. Stairways curl impossibly upward, doors lead to places you never imagined, and colors you cannot name bleed across the sky. Every whisper, every shadow, every half-understood pattern is a clue, a puzzle, a secret waiting to be unraveled. Tzinch offers power over reality itself, a chance to bend fate to your will, to orchestrate events as a master conductor of cosmic intrigue. But his gifts are treacherous. Trust is an illusion. Allies may be enemies in disguise. Even the slightest miscalculation could unravel your life in ways you will never recover from. To pledge yourself is to play a game of infinite moves, where every victory is entangled with unseen consequences. Nurgle's path is different, quieter, grotesquely serene. The air is thick with rot, yet comforting in its familiarity. You feel a hand, warm though sticky with filth, pressing against your shoulder, offering solace from the pain and fear that have dogged your life. Nurgle promises endurance, immunity to suffering, a grotesque form of immortality. Step closer and the world softens. Death is no longer a threat, disease no longer a terror. You are free from worry, from the anxiety of ambition, from the crushing weight of failure. But freedom comes with stagnation. You will rot slowly, physically and morally, comforted and trapped simultaneously. You may never rise, never conquer, never challenge, only exist eternally. Slaanesh waits at the edge of the void like a mirage of impossible beauty. The air shimmers with sensations that both seduce and horrify. Pleasure and pain fold into one another in a way that makes your senses scream and beg for more. To serve Slaanesh is to experience life at a volume that threatens to tear your mind apart. Every indulgence comes with addiction. Every sensation a chain tightening around your psyche. That ecstasy becomes expectation and craving becomes purpose. It is dizzying, intoxicating, and perilous. To pledge yourself is to surrender to desire itself, knowing that the more you take, the more the God's essence consumes you from the inside out. At this climactic juncture, you feel the weight of every decision that brought you here, every whispered promise, every fleeting moment of power or relief. Every moral compromise presses against your chest like a physical force. The choice is no longer abstract. It is immediate, tangible. The gods are patient, but they do not linger forever. Their gazes pierce through the veil of your mind, seeing your deepest fears and desires, your hidden ambitions, your darkest regrets. And then the moment comes. You reach out. Do you clutch the axe dripping with blood and let rage define you forever? Do you weave the tapestry of fate in Tench's ever-shifting labyrinth, each move a gamble with cosmic consequences? Do you embrace Nurgle's bloated warmth, letting the rot and comfort consume you into a grotesque eternity? Or do you surrender to Slaanesh's seductive pull, letting pleasure and torment become indistinguishable until there is nothing left but craving? Time stretches. The warp seems to pulse in response to your hesitation, bending reality itself around your indecision. You realize that choosing is no longer about power, reward, or survival. It is about the surrender of your agency. The acceptance that some part of you will never belong to yourself again. Every path demands a payment you can never fully comprehend. Every path ensures transformation, whether in body, mind, or soul. And so you choose. Perhaps you triumph, perhaps you falter. Perhaps the decision was never yours at all. The gods smile if such beings can smile, because they have already anticipated your move. Your choice will ripple across your life and beyond, twisting into outcomes that may horrify, exhilarate, or destroy you entirely. In this crucible, the mortal becomes myth, the pawn becomes instrument, and the final choice echoes in eternity. You think you made the choice. You think the hammer of fate struck in your hands and you shaped your own destiny. But here's the cruel truth. It was never yours to shape. The gods were already waiting, each step of your journey meticulously anticipated, each temptation carefully placed like bait on a hook. Every victory, every whispered promise, every small act of defiance. It was a script you were following, written before you even knew your own name.